in 2023, we took two cruises just 3 weeks apart. We were very lucky. One of them was on Marella and the other was on P&O, and we enjoyed them both. They were both fantastic. But then afterwards, we reflected which was the best experience, which did we enjoy the most, and it became very apparent that the two different cruise lines offered very different experiences to the cruise passenger. So which did we enjoy most? Watch this video and find out. Before we go on, we just need to make it clear that we're going to steer clear of any issues to do with itineraries or the ports or the destinations. We're just going to focus on the cruise line experience itself. So in terms of the two cruise ships, let's be clear which ships we were on. We were on Marella Discovery. Now that's quite an old ship. It's built in 1996, originally for Royal Caribbean, has been refurbished by Marella and it's been in service for quite a few years now, about 6 or 7 years, and is a much loved stalwart of the Marella fleet, and Marella fans love it. We're also talking about P&O Azura, a much more modern ship built in 2010, and again it's bigger than Marella. So Marella Discovery is just under 2,000 passengers, whereas Azura is nearly 3,000. And again, Azura is a much loved stalwart of the P&O fleet. So which was the best cruise experience? So in our first category, we're going to talk about pre-cruise planning. Both cruise lines give you access to their online web portals. You've got Marella Cruise Control and My P&O. On both portals, you're required to upload advanced passenger information and answer online health questionnaires before taking your cruise. You can also upgrade your drinks packages and also buy excursions ahead of the cruise. We were not able to book specialty dining on either of these two online portals. That was no problem on P&O because once on board we were able to book the dining experiences we wanted. However, it was a problem on Marella because we were completely unable to book any specialty dining. It did turn out that the Marella website had some kind of bug or IT problem, and our booking we were not able to actually complete any specialty dining bookings at all, whereas other passengers seemed to be able to book well ahead of the cruise. And that meant that when we got on board the ship, all the vacancies, all the availability for the specialty dining had gone. So we missed out on that. So that was a bit of a bad experience for Marella. Both portals give you the opportunity to pre-book ahead of the cruise any online shore excursions that you want to take. Unfortunately for Marella, the cruise excursions that we actually booked got cancelled just before the cruise, which meant we had to go through a pretty elaborate refund process and rebook onto other excursions that had, well, there was much less availability and much less choice available. So again, that was another bad thing about our Marella experience. Boarding passes for the ship and luggage tags were easily available to print off from the My P&O portal. Now this functionality also exists within Marella Cruise Control, but again for us that didn't work, and it meant that we had to travel without any boarding passes for the ship and any luggage tags. That kind of added a little bit of extra anxiety because we weren't really sure how that was going to pan out when we got to the ship. So in this category, P&O are overall clear winners, and we're going to give them 5 points, whereas Marella we're going to give 2 points. The My P&O portal just worked and did everything we wanted it to do. There was no problems with it whatsoever, whereas the Marella portal actually frankly didn't work at all for us. So in this next category, we're going to talk about embarkation and disembarkation. Embarkation processes to collect your cruise cards, access your room and complete the safety drill was pretty similar on both ships, although there were some subtle differences, but both were very effective. For Marella, we checked in and registered as a passenger immediately inside the ship itself. Once there, we were then directed to our muster station where we collected our cruise cards that would allow us to access our room. Once inside our rooms, we were able to watch the online safety drill video, which was playing on the telly once we entered it. For P&O, we actually checked in and registered as a passenger off the ship in a holding area. Once we'd done that, we were directed to our muster station. Once we'd been to our muster station, we were then directed to our cabin, and our cruise cards were waiting for us, stuck inside the outside of the cabin door. Once inside the cabin, again, as per Marella, the safety video was playing on the telly as we entered. Both procedures, very simple, very effective. Disembarkation again was almost identical and involved putting out your cases the night before disembarking, then collecting at a muster point at a pre-agreed time, being chauffeured to your coach where your bags were waiting for you, and then taken to the airport. Again, very, very simple, very, very effective, no problems whatsoever. So in this category, we're going to give both cruise lines a maximum 5 out of 5. It was hassle-free. So in this next category, we're going to talk about cabins and decor. Cabins on both were adequate, I think is the best way to describe them. They were spacious enough. They weren't particularly luxurious, but they were fine. Both cabins featured fairly small screen TVs and both had showers with the dreaded shower curtains in them. Beds were comfortable and there was ample storage space for all your luggage and cases too. If anything, the P&O cabin had more storage space for hanging garments, so that maybe gave it an edge. So both ships were really pleasantly decorated and offered a really nice experience for the passenger. They both also had some pretty great spacious atriums, which they were using for entertainment as well, which I absolutely love. It's very hard to choose between the two, but you probably had to say that the P&O ship looked a little newer and a little bit better cared for. In terms of scores, we're going to give P&O 3, Marella 2. So in this next category, we're going to talk about the ship's facilities. Azura is the bigger of the two ships, so should have more facilities on offer. It does have sports courts, basketball, whereas the Discovery does have a climbing wall at the back and also has a crazy golf course. Shopping facilities on both ships were comparable. 1+4 P&O is the Brodie's pub, which has a live sports showing within it. That includes English football, international football, Formula One, tennis, and other sporting activities and events that are going on. Now, there isn't an equivalent facility on any of the Marella ships. Both ships had a great selection of entertainment venues, from the noisy and the boisterous to the quiet and the sleepy. There was actually a good range across both ships. Azura has a greater number of swimming pools, which is hardly surprising, and they're well segregated too, which means you can escape the hordes of people and get some peace and quiet if you want to. We really liked the pool areas on Azura. It was quite easy to find somewhere to sit and just enjoy the sunshine, and you could take a dip. The pools weren't too busy, so if you wanted to cool off, it was easy to do that. I think it's also worth pointing out that Discovery does have an excellent indoor pool area, the Glass House, which was a fantastic retreat, and you could get some real solitude and peace and quiet in there too, as a lot of people were up on the top decks enjoying the sunshine. So if you just wanted that little bit of sanctitude and a little bit of peace and quiet, the Glass House, the indoor pool area, was just what I needed. Both ships had really good spas and gym facilities, although the P&O facilities were a bit more modern and a little bit better equipped. Both ships have really nice coffee shops. The P&O ship uses the Costa franchise. However, the coffee and cake on the Marella ship we thought was much better quality. If gambling is your thing, then the P&O ship has a bigger and better equipped casino area. So in terms of ship's facilities, it's hard to really differentiate between them, but probably P&O just nudges it. So we're going to give P&O 4, Marella 3. So this next category is quite a controversial one. It's ship atmosphere. Whether you enjoy the atmosphere on a ship is pretty much a personal preference, but it is, I think, helpful to contrast some of the differences between the two cruise lines. Marella have a much greater focus on onboard activities. The cruise director and all the entertainment staff work tirelessly throughout the entire day, and you'll always run into them around the ship. They're always interacting with passengers, and there are activities going on the whole day long, and you've definitely noticed these. There's a real vibe and atmosphere and engagement throughout the whole ship. Now, don't get me wrong, there are places on the ship where you can escape all of this and get the peace, quiet, and solitude that you might be seeking, maybe to read a book or enjoy a drink. However, if you definitely want to engage, if you want to participate, then Marella is definitely the cruise line you're after. One expected bonus from this approach from Marella is that the staff seem to get a lift too. They always seem so happy, laughing and joking with the passengers. It's as though they're really enjoying their day. Marella can sometimes be accused of being a bit like butlers at sea, but this strategy of tirelessly trying to make sure that your passengers feel happy and are valued seems to be a winning strategy in our view. There is less formality around dress codes too, which is appealing to many. Now, whilst there is a dress to impress night and a captain's dinner, the emphasis is about making you feel like you're participating in something special rather than a formal dress code experience. P&O, on the other hand, whilst they too offer a variety of onboard ship experiences, fun games, quizzes and activities, they are much less in your face and are much more localised. In fact, there are some days you wouldn't know they were going on at all unless you went and looked for them or were aware of where they were happening on your sort of onboard ship's newsletter. Being careful how to phrase this, but the differences in types of cruise passenger were much more noticeable on the P&O ship. People cruise for all different sorts of reasons, and P&O does cater for all types of cruise passenger. It's just that they appeared a lot less homogenised on the P&O ship than they were on the Marella ship. Those who go to experience the pomp and the luxury of a cruise really do thrive on a P&O ship. There are 2 formal nights every week, which have very strict dress codes applied for the vast majority of the ship. Cruise passengers who simply use the ship as a floating hotel will find themselves restricted from accessing parts of the ship on these formal nights. Families and the facilities to support them are localised in specific areas of the ship. The upshot of all of this is that the ship just feels a bit less fun than the Marella ship. Even the staff seem less happy and less jolly. So, in our view, it's Marella that trumps and wins in this category with its focus on inclusivity and fun. And we're going to give Marella 5 points, but P&O, we're just going to give 2, I'm afraid. Controversial? I know. So, this next category is all about food and drink. Food and drink's a very tough category to talk about because, for starters, do we include specialty dining? Well, it doesn't seem fair as we weren't able to book any specialty dining as mentioned earlier on the Marella ship. But before we go any further, I think it is worth pointing out that the Epicurean on the P&O ship was by far the best meal we've ever had at sea. It does cost £30 per person extra, but it is a fabulous meal and an amazing experience, and that's definitely worth giving a special mention to. But to be fair, Surf and Turf and Corallar on the Marella ships are really good dining experiences also. Again, they come at an extra cost, but are definitely worth doing if you get the chance to do it. Unfortunately, on our cruise, we didn't get that chance. For fairness, it does seem right that we only talk about the main dining rooms and the buffet restaurants. Marella menus always provide a base selection of Western style dishes that you'd find in a typical British pub or restaurant. On each day, there is also a themed menu that changes every day and follows a sort of a foods of the world type approach. Salads, soups, and delicatessen options always feature for both lunch and evening meal menus. One thing that's notable about Marella is that the menus don't differ greatly between the buffet restaurant and the main dining room. They're actually almost identical in many cases. Marella also include a sort of pseudo-speciality dining experience in the Glasshouse restaurant. This is pizza and tapas, but does allow a sort of a speciality dining experience for those passengers who can't afford the cover charges that you find in the other speciality dining areas. Throughout all the restaurants, we always found the food to be hot, flavoursome, and of reasonable quality. In fact, they were generally good dining experiences wherever we ate. The service in the main dining room was fine, the selection in the buffets was always good, there was always enough for us to eat and enough options on the table to give us the variety that we wanted on the cruise. P&O has a greater selection and range of specialty dining options on board. We also noticed that a greater proportion of the passengers used the main dining room options too. The buffet is fine, but we did find that the floor area and seating capacity in the buffet was quite limited, and that did affect the dining experience in the buffet. Menus like Marella were a mixture of British staples mixed with themed cuisine, again on a foods of the world style approach. I have to say there was probably a little less choice on P&O, but the food quality was again a little better. Both cruise lines offer really good breakfast options. You get an English breakfast, you can get a continental breakfast, and some more exotic options too. I think the omelette station on the Marella ship though does probably worth a special mention. They were really tasty. I'm also going to give a shout out for the tea on Marella, which was Yorkshire tea. It was PG tips on P&O. Minor issue for some, game changer for others. As mentioned earlier on, the coffee shop on the Marella ship was also better. There was a greater range of snacks and cakes, but also the coffee was a bit tastier too. Snack outlets on poolside areas also deserve a mention. Here, Marella wins, I'm afraid, simply by its selection of very tasty burgers and homemade cookies that are available all day long. It also provides a range of healthier options such as fruit, pots, salads, and also sandwiches if you need them. Actually, really good. P&O have similar snack outlets by the poolside. These serve pizza, burgers, and chicken burgers, and a range of other options too. But I have to say the food quality wasn't as good as on the Marella ship, and it was less tasty food. So I think Marella just wins on that front. So even though the Epicurean restaurant on P&O was definitely the best meal we've ever had at sea, when you look at the food and the snack options, the main dining room and the buffet, I would probably say Marella just nudges it. And I'm going to give Marella 3.5 points here and P&O 3 points. So this next category is entertainment. So both cruise lines offer a wide range of entertainment options and performances run throughout the entire day. Entertainment is very much a personal preference issue, and it depends what sort of entertainment you're after, whether it's Broadway style shows, live music, activities, fun and games, or even lectures and enrichment style activities. Morella's focus is largely about ensuring that there is a Broadway-style show occurring on at least 5 days a week. There are also at least two live music acts rotating around the various venues during the week, and also other musicians filling in musical slots such as pianists, saxophonists, and other singers. The Broadway-style shows are a highlight for many passengers, and the performances that we saw were certainly of really high standard and really good fun to watch. The performances were well choreographed, and they make great use of all the facilities on board the ship. Live music acts are always a bit of personal taste, but the choices that Marella made were pretty much mainstream and would satisfy a variety of musical tastes for most passengers. P&O had a slightly different focus with a greater emphasis on musical acts. P&O often used known musical names or very popular tribute acts as their main headline event. On our cruise we had a Sting tribute act who was really rather good. There was also a good selection of other musical entertainers doing short tributes and live shows. In fact, the music actually was really quite good quality. There's also a wide range of musical tastes catered for, but I think it's worth pointing out that P&O have much less emphasis on a Broadway style show than Marella. I think though a particular strength of P&O was that the comedy acts and also the enrichment activities were of a much higher standard on P&O than on Marella. So as we mentioned earlier, whether you enjoy the entertainment on a cruise is largely down to personal choice and personal taste. And for us, it was the Broadway style shows that really floated our boat. In fact, we really enjoyed those on the Marella cruise. So we're going to give Marella 5 points. But let's not take it away from the acts on the P&O cruise. They were incredibly talented and we really did enjoy them. So definitely a good strong 3 points for P&O. So this next category is all about cost. Cruise pricing is somewhat of a dark art these days, and it's very hard to compare what you actually get for your money. P&O aggressively price their cruise fares, but they're not all inclusive, and P&O actively encourage you to upgrade your drinks package. However, we don't think the drinks package prices are particularly fair or good value for money, unless you're a raging alcoholic or you're going to spend all day, every day on board the ship. So, whilst the upfront cruise price is low, you'll incur extra costs whilst you're on board the ship. You'll have to, of course, pay for your drinks, and P&O do try and nudge you into the specialty dining options, which do come at an extra cost. That said, though, P&O have in recent years included an amount of onboard credit included in the cruise fare. The amount of onboard credit you get does vary cruise by cruise. On our cruise, it was fairly generous. It was nearly £400. This pretty much made our P&O cruise an all-inclusive cruise, and it covered our bar bill and some of our specialty dining costs too. Of course, without this onboard credit, there would have been a £400 additional cost to our cruise. However, with the onboard credit of £400, it did make our cruise particularly good value for money in our opinion. Morella's pricing is all-inclusive. It covers all food, entertainment, and a pretty reasonable drinks package too thrown in. You can upgrade to a premium drinks package which allows you to sup the more expensive spirits and fine wines. I think it's worth saying that you can also do this on a pay-as-you-go basis, just if you fancy something special on a particular evening or for a particular occasion. Upfront costs are more than P&O, but you don't get a nasty bill at the end of your cruise. The crew are incredibly generous with their all-inclusive drinks too, and you'll generally find them parading up and down the pool decks, handing out bottles of beer, glasses of wine, or soft drinks. It's incredibly generous and well catered for. I think it's worth also pointing out though that if you're the sort of person that would really take advantage of that free bar, then you can do exactly that on the Marella cruise, and that might be off-putting for some other passengers. However, we've never seen any problems associated with that. People have always exercised a fair degree of restraint. I do particularly like the fact that you never have to worry about running up a bar bill unless you want to go for those premium drinks as a special treat. I think if you were to tot up your overall cost for the cruise, it really would depend on how much you're going to drink on the cruise. There is little to choose between the two cruise lines in terms of costs of excursions, spa treatments or specialty dining, so it really is all about that bar bill at the end of the week. So for us, it's that peace of mind and that lack of anxiety about running up a bill that probably tips this category just in favour of Marella. So we're going to give them 4 points and P&O 3. And our final category is customer services. Hopefully you'll never have to use guest services whilst you're on a cruise, as it normally means there's some problem or something's gone wrong. Both cruise lines operate dedicated teams to help passengers who are having difficulties, and they permanently man a desk down in the atrium area. It's a job I definitely wouldn't want to do, and there are long queues at certain times on a cruise, normally soon after embarkation or shortly before disembarkation. Scoring how these teams perform somehow doesn't seem fair. However, their ability to show empathy and work to resolve the problems faced by the passengers is how we're going to base our rating in this category. Now, thankfully, we had very few problems on both cruises, but one that was common to both was the late arrival of luggage in our rooms. Customer services team on P&O gave us a lot more confidence that our issue would be resolved. They seemed far more certain of what the procedure was that they needed to follow to find out what was happening, and they gave us a lot of confidence that we would definitely get our luggage quickly. On Marella, it just seemed a little more chaotic, and they did seem to not really know what was going on, and we certainly didn't get a lot of confidence that we would get our luggage quickly or at all at one point. However, what was pleasing to say that on both cruises, we definitely got our luggage in our rooms on the day that we boarded the ship, and everything was ended up being fine. I would also say that the lady that sort of looked after us on the Marella ship was a little less polite. Maybe she'd had a bad day. But we're going to give P&O 4 points, Marella 3 points in this category. So that's it. That's the end of our review. So which cruise line came out on top? Well, in terms of scoring, it's Marella that just edged it by a controversial half a point. And there is very, very little to split between the two cruise lines. They're very, very evenly balanced. Each has their strengths, each has their weaknesses, and they all have very, very different approaches to different aspects of the cruise. And a lot of this will come down to your very own personal preference. Marella are big on fun and entertainment. It's a much more relaxed vibe, much more chilled. Passengers are there to have a good time, and they do. Also, the all-inclusive pricing provides peace of mind too. P&O have a much greater focus on the cruising experience, and they manage to provide a really first-class cruise experience at a very keen price too. P&O have newer and better equipped ships. These ships have a definite wow factor edge over the Marella fleet. However, the more formal atmosphere and the less personal staff can make it a little less fun in our opinion. We'd happily sail on both cruise lines again, and later this year we've booked 2 more cruises, one on Marella and one on P&O. There are other cruise lines of course, and each has their own strengths and each has their own weaknesses. P&O and Marella do seem to be fighting over the British cruise market at the minute. What is pleasing is that every cruise line in the market seems to offer its own unique brand and own unique experience in some way for the passenger. So if you're thinking of cruising with Marella or cruising with P&O, well, we hope you found this video helpful in helping you make up your mind which is the right one for you. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, please don't forget to hit like, and if you'd like to see more content like this, please subscribe to our channel.